Hey there, y'all. This is Jack, and today we are discussing Record of Ragnarok, Chapter 83, the conclusion between Apollo and Leonidas' fight, which I will admit, I'll admit this, I got spoiled. I mean, yeah, I look it up and I see images of freaking Leonidas getting annihilated, so yeah, I had it spoiled for me. But even if I didn't have it spoiled for me, I would have probably thought that Leonidas was gonna pull the victory at the end with how I'm not gonna lie, it was really one-sided this entire match. Really, even though Leonidas did have some good moves, Apollo kind of had to nerf himself a bit, which is very very unfortunate. But that's the way it goes. Apollo's just that great of a fighter, to be honest. All right, let's go. Well, before we go into the review, if you like Record of Ragnarok content like this, please consider subscribing. I'd greatly appreciate it. All right, let's jump into the review. All right, right here we cut to a statue of Apollo and a statue of a Spartan just standing right there face to face with each other as we see on the match with Leonidas and Apollo still facing off each other. Then right there we get Apollo actually deactivating the threads that wrapped around his arms as he just continued just to unravel around even Leonidas. Leonidas kind of breaks free from it too, and they just kind of roll back together. And yeah, Leonidas kind of taken surprised by this too, as Gold just says, Lord Apollo untied his Phobius layer. What's he trying to do? And Berhilde already knows. Berhilde knows exactly what Apollo's up to. She says, "No way, that technique." As we see Apollo just kiss his gauntlets he says, "Come, Artemis," and releases a bright light that shines in everyone's eyes as the people in the audience are like, "Whoa, what in the world?" And even Heimdall's just kind of averting his eyes as he announces, "Apollo's gauntlets. It's released a powerful light that has never been seen before." And it disappeared as it arrived and disappeared. And then we see a massive shadow appearing behind Apollo, and it starts like coming out of his shadow. Very interesting. That's something you'd expect to come out of Beelzebub, but no, it is Macolius Light, Artemis, and we see this giant mannequin, this giant automaton standing right behind him, and with these creatures like in the belly, which I'm assuming is what the animals that Apollo and Artemis represent essentially, as we see them just right there, and this giant mechanical machine behind them that has the gloves that Apollo has. Which when I first saw this, I was thinking, "Oh, frig, yeah, this is not going to be good here." And I want to say, I called it that Apollo was going to create a bow that was going to be able to shoot like a light beam. I called it, but that last channel got nuked, and so all the evidence of that's gone. But you have my word. As we see the giant automaton just towering over Leonidas, as Heimdall's just like, what is that thing? A huge statue of the goddess appeared behind Apollo, and Apollo just a smile as yeah, even Ares says beautiful, and Hermes is just kind of like, huh, what was that just now? And Ares just says, to be honest, that guy is truly beautiful. And Hermes like, oh, and then Ares like, oh, freak, I can't believe I admitted it. As yeah, Zeus just kind of laughs at that, saying, yeah, the sacred treasure is Moonlight Artemis. It's been a while since I've seen it, since the gigantic monarchy. I didn't think Apollo would use that. So again, so Apollo was there at the gigantic monarchy. Forgive me for the words I'm mispronouncing. I can't pronounce Greek words that well, so my apologies. But so Apollo is there fighting. I hope when they animate season 3, we see Apollo. Well, we don't even have to see Apollo. We can just see, when Zeus, Adamas, and Poseidon are engaging the giants, we could see a bolts of lights just striking down giants. We don't even need to see Apollo. We can just assume, yeah, that's Apollo doing that. It'd be cool to see Apollo. I'm not gonna lie, but I do hope they add that because in animes you could add stuff that's not in the manga and stuff like that would be friggin' fantastic. And right there, yeah, we see her just standing there right behind Apollo as Apollo says, "Now then, let's go." As we see the strings coming from its hands and start weaving, yeah, essentially a bow. It's weaving a bow. As even Heimdall announces, the goddess, She's forming something with her light? And then the title. It's said in Greek mythology that the twin gods Apollo and Artemis use a giant bow to slay the giants. And then Apollo right there gets the bow. This massive bow that's even stuck right into the ground as Heimdall announces, a huge, brilliant bow appeared! And all the humans like, wait, what? That bow is so big. How's he even going to use that? True. I get it, but nah. Apollo's a pro at this as he just holds his hand out and a an arrow made of light appears as Apollo strings it back as he says, check this out. And Heimdall announces materials the light and turned it into an arrow. And Apollo just says, this is Phoebus Apollo, supreme technique. And Leonidas just laughs and says, supreme, that's laughable. Go ahead and shoot. And yeah, Berhil is just like, you moron, get out of the way. You can't tank that. And Leonidas, he's like, yeah, I got this. I could take it. And right there, boom, Apollo lets go. And we see an arrow just shoot right past Leonidas, and it hits a god in the audience's ear. Like it shreds him, but he doesn't realize. He just says, "What? It's hot." And another god just freaks out, like, "Your ear!" And the god's like, "It hurts. What happened? What just happened?" As we see a hole in the stadium, and right there, we just zoom out, and there's a hole right in Leonidas' chest. As Leonidas just kind of cough out blood, and we see blood spilling from his wounds. And I'm not gonna lie, I had to double check this. I was like, wait, what? Is his heart right there? Of course not. It's in the left side of his. Well, the main, it's in the center and left side of his torso. Here, it just seemed like it just either pierced his lung or grazed his lung. Either way, not good at all. But yeah, Leonidas got hit by a devastating strike as blood just spews from his wounds, both sides and his mouth. And Heimdall just announced, what just happened? Apollo's arrow disappeared at the same time as a flash of light, and a hole was blown through Leonidas and the wall of the arena. And right there, yeah, yeah, Ares just says, that truly is the power of the sun, a divine yet terrifying technique. And yeah, Hermes just says, indeed, Apollo's golden arrows are swift like light. If they were uh, to hit a human, they would die instantly before they even feel any pain. That is the fastest bow in the world of the gods. That's a technique that even the giants were helpless to defeat to fight against. In the heavens, only someone like me can resist an arrow. Okay, so interesting there. I know a lot of power scalers are gonna go crazy with this one, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm very interested to hear what people are gonna have to say about this. But so essentially, Apollo has the greatest bow throughout all the gods. So very interesting on that. And right here, Zeus is like, yeah, the only one that's able, the only people alive that could take it on is essentially just me. I'm the only one that could take it. Okay, so very interesting statement, I gotta say. So does that mean since Poseidon and Hades are both dead, does that mean that yeah they don't count as they could probably resist that? Because I would assume they'd probably not tank it, but be able to react to and dodge it, especially Poseidon with how fast Poseidon is. But I don't know. That's a whole other topic altogether. But very interesting that Zeus would say that as we get Leonidas just still managing to stay on his feet as Zeus continues. Even that human is probably at his dead end. And Leonidas just kind of looks up and says, that sure hurt like hell. You god. And then we get Big G just, worried about him saying, Leo, those arrows are too much of a problem. Let's go back to shield form. And we get, Leonidas' shield go right back to, turning back into a normal shield. And at first I was thinking, is the shield even going to be able to block that? But it does, as we see later on, as Apollo says, you even endured the bow. I'm sure there's more than it just hurts. As Apollo strings back another arrow and says, you really are sturdy, aren't you? I would say, and he just fires another arrow, and Leonidas blocks it. it's not just that he was able to to see him block it, it's just he held his arm up and it hits the shield and it reflects. And yeah, Apollo just does not let up. He just fire. He just starts rapid firing with golden arrows of the shining meteors. Apollo Epiricius. Forgive me, Greece. But as Apollo finds his targets and starts hitting Leonidas right where he's not covering his shield at, as Leo just he's taking the hits, he's feeling it, but the shield's actually able to continue to reflect the arrows, sending them away from him, but right into the arena where the gods are, and the gods start freaking out, start running away. So I just gotta point this out. So far, out of all the fighters in the tournament, there's only been two fighters that have not directly went for the stands, but have just indirectly their attacks went for the stands, and that would be Zero. Makes sense because he was just an immature child at that point, and Apollo, which I don't think Apollo really minds. It just seems like yeah, in this tournament, if you're caught in the crossfire, I mean, so be it. I mean, I'm trying to win this here. As Apollo just continues to fire arrow after arrow, and yes, yeah, poor Leonidas. He's just getting hit and hit and hit. Not fatally, but he's just the parts that are just not covered by the shield. He just gets hit. And even his Valkyrie is just shouting, she's just worried about him. As Heimdall announces a terrifying series of shots, invisible arrows of light raining down like a meteor shower. Leonidas is completely helpless. I mean, not really, but against an attack like this, like I could see why anyone would say that. I mean, really. As Leonidas manages to stand on his feet, he did not fall down. He is standing on his feet as he says, "Gotta be careful." I was about to take a nap because it was so comfortable. There's Leonidas just just being quick-witted, just being like, "Yeah, that was good. I mean, yeah, I'll give it to you, but I ain't done yet." As his Valkyrie says, "I thought so." As Leonidas stands up and she says, "But we have to think about what to do about those invisible arrows." And Leonidas like, "Yeah, don't worry about it. If I can see it or not, it's irrelevant. It's just an arrow. I'll blow them away." And she's like, "Leo," and uh, Apollo is like, "I commend you for enduring this long. For that reason, I won't let you suffer. Let's end this." And he fires directly at Leonidas' face. And Leonidas just kind of looks and he just deflects and says, "It's not over," as he deflects the arrow. Even surprising Apollo, and the arrow comes right back and skims Apollo's right arm. And right there, everyone's shocked as they're like, he deflected it. As even the Greek gods watch, as Ares says, he managed to deflect that. Wouldn't that mean that he can see Apollo's arrows? And Zeus is like, no, he can't see it. It's instinct. That human, he managed to have gone through countless hells on the battlefield. The instinct of a warrior that he acquired from experience. That's what made it possible for him to shoot that arrow at a god. And Ares is like, "Instinct? Don't you mean intuition?" And Zeus kind of just laughs and says, "You can say that as well." Now, he took so many arrows that he's at his limit. Okay, so what Zeus Zeus what he's essentially saying is, yeah, Leonidas has been through so many fights at this point that it's instinct at this point. It's just instinct that he would, when he sees the arrow coming at him, he would instinctively just deflect the arrow. And Ares brings up something like, yeah, don't you mean intuition? Like, you could say intuition of knowing yourself, knowing yourself, right, know thyself, knowing what's coming at you, knowing that you're gonna be able to do and to be able to deflect the arrow. I get what Ares is saying. You could actually go either way between intuition or instincts, depending on the Spartan. And with Leonidas, it honestly could be both. It could be a combination of instinct and intuition with how much battles and conflicts Leonidas has been being the ultimate Spartan. It legit could be both. As Zeus says, and Apollo is the same, as we see Apollo close up and with his arm shredded, and the Muse is just shouting, Lord Apollo, his right arm, he can't draw a bow like that. And when I was first reading this, I was thinking, okay, so is Apollo gonna just probably sacrifice his right arm to shoot one more arrow? That's what I was thinking was gonna happen. I did not expect what actually happened. As Leonidas says, seriously saying things like, I commend you, or I won't let you suffer. What a stupid thing to say. Did you really think that I would be grateful to receive such words from a god? Who the F do you think you're dealing with? Who you're dealing with me? As Leonidas just shouts in, Apollo just looks and smiles and just says, you're a twisted MFer, I gotta say. That's exactly what you are. I effing hate you. And Leonidas is caught off by the language of Apollo, but then he kind of smirks at this as Apollo says, "Still, it's a little beautiful." And Leonidas retorts, "You are becoming a real man, you bastard." So Leon, okay, it's showing. I love this, just the words alone, because Apollo would have never have said anything like this prior to this fight, because even Leonidas berated him. Like, yeah, you're just a brat. You're not really anything to me. But Apollo Leonidas, realizing Leonidas' words, like Leonidas, like, yeah, don't you say stuff like that to me. I am here and I'm gonna fight you. Don't you dare talk down to me, you god, whatever you are, like whatever you do. Don't you talk down to me, because that's just not the kind of man I am. And Apollo, seeing Leonidas going through all of this, he's realizing, you know what? I gotta respect this man. This human. He's giving everything he's got. He's still talking to me like this, even though he's in such pain and agony. And Apollo just repaid the kindness with those words. And Zeus, or sorry, Leonidas is like, yeah, that's more like it. As he said, yeah, you're becoming more of a real man at this point. And Apollo just says, let me ask you something. Why do you fight so hard? Is it for revenge against me? Or is it for mankind? Okay. Now this I have a feeling this is gonna get some people Leonidas' next words here. As Leonidas just pulls out a cigar, lights it up, and says, I don't care about either. Right now, it's my time to fight. We don't get to choose how we are born. So how we live or how we die, it's up to us. I only follow my soul. The most will-filled men in this world. This is the Sparta I have been aiming for. And Apollo just says amazing. So essentially, Leonidas admits, yeah, this whole fight between us, no, it's not about revenge against you, no. It's not fighting for humanity either, no, that's not it. It's essentially, it's a fight between you and me. It's you and me. It's right here, right now. This is the tournament. And the way it is, this is just the way it is. And that's just how Sparta is. It's our will to fight. I mean, yeah, Leonidas might have a grudge against Apollo. He might not like the way Apollo look. Well, when I say looks, I mean the way he acts. But when it comes down to it, it's not just his grudge versus Apollo. It's not about mankind versus the gods. No, it's about him versus Apollo. It's about this fight right here, right now. This is what matters here. And Apollo gets it. He gets it. And we get Hagen just shouting, Lord Leonidas, we are with you. As Leonidas says, you fools. And then he says, Big G. And she says, Leo, let's go. And right there, Leonidas' shield starts shining as Heimdall announces, Leonidas' shield is changing again. And right there, it looks like the armor on the shield just broke off. And right there, looks like a classic shield, like, the old school style shields of Leonidas, as it says, Alicia, Sparta, shield of truth. So this is it right here, the shield of truth. This is what makes it right here for Leonidas. Everything, all of this is condensed into this shield here. As right there, we get Goal saying, "It's a very simple shield. What on earth are they gonna try with that?" And Brahilda says, "I believe they are going back to the essence of Sparta." Then we get narration here saying, The Ethiop of Sparta, phalanx, is essentially not a defense, it's an unstoppable advancement. It pierces through like a spear and crushes the enemy formation as Leonidas stands as if he would in formation. I love the detail that he's holding his hand out, like if he's actually holding a spear, even though he's not. He's holding just a shield. It's just that intuition of just the way of fighting that you know you're gonna take that stance, even if you don't have the correct equipment. You're gonna take that stance because that's what you've been doing for. This is what you've been training, and that's the way it is. That's the way of Sparta. As we see Leonidas emitting a massive aura out of him, and right there, Apollo just says enormous pressure. I am grateful as he dismantles his bow. And he says, by burning my soul with you, I will become even more beautiful. As we see the threads coming back to the Artemis um, automaton right behind him, forming a massive. Well, before that, we see its arms kind of, not detached, but kind of extend out as the forearms kind of extend forward, and right there it creates a massive string between the hands, and Apollo starts backing up into it, kind of like how a boxer would on a tightrope. And we get Ares just saying, "What is that?" Of course, Ares and Apollo as he continues to back out. Again, Apollo is tired as well as he's breathing heavily, but he's still doing this. As the narration goes on, saying, "There is more to the myth of Apollo. At the moment when Phoebus Apollo shone beauty as the sun, he took his place on Artemis's bow." And right there, we see Apollo just digging his feet into the ground, digging his feet into the sandals as he continues to push himself further and further back on the bow. He becomes a silver arrow to break down the wall of Argos. And right there, yeah, Ares like that guy. He's going to break through that shield head on. And right there, as Heimdall announces, the strongest arrow of the heavens and humanity's strongest shield will clash right now. And honestly, it's honestly more like the strongest spear versus the strongest arrow, really. But again, yeah, Leonidas has his shield out and he's ready to move in, phalanx it forward, head straight for it, as everyone holds their breath as they continue just to watch each other. Ash breaks from Leonidas' cigar, sweat comes down from Apollo's chin as they both hit the ground. Both charge right at the same time. Leonidas with the shield, Apollo with his left hand aiming, and his right hand getting ready to form his arrow as he holds his fist out, pushes it forward, and it starts forming it into an arrowhead. And Leonidas continuing to charge forward, his shield ablaze as they both continue to charge right at each other. Everyone cheering the stands for their respective heroes, for their respective representatives. They both continue to head right towards each other with both a smile on their face. This is going to determine the outcome of this fight. And both come at each other. Phalanx Lambara and Argyrotokos, soul piercing silver arrow. And right there, we see Apollo's left hand clash with Leonidas' shield, and it starts shattering. Yes, it starts shattering, which is freaking crazy here. And as it shatters, we see Apollo's arm gets not obliterated, but the blood starts spewing from it. As we see massive gushes of blood, not just from Apollo, but also from Leonidas' gut. So what happened here was the arrow that came from Apollo's hand slammed into the shield, but that wasn't enough. Apollo had to go in with his fist as well and destroy his own shield, destroy his own fist to break through the shield and land a massive blow into Leonidas. And that's what happened. Now, some people might be thinking, well, why? Why didn't Leonidas, shield hold up against Apollo? Okay. Now I gotta say this. it actually makes a lot of sense in the context of the last chapter. In the last chapter, it was established that Apollo, he was born as a, like not really anything special. It was just some, a very low tier god, and he worked for his achievements. He built up his body. He continued to grow and grow stronger and stronger until he actually earned his place in the 12 Olympians. So that's why I think is a good and actually a great explanation on why Apollo was able to break through the shield. Because if this was just some ordinary god, arming themselves up with the bow and charging like this, they would have got obliterated with the shield. But here, Apollo built himself enough. He built himself up enough to where he was able to break through Leonidas' shield. And again, as in the words of Apollo, that is beautiful. That is great writing. It is not even spelled out here why that was possible. It's just a matter of fact. And if you figured out, you caught on, good for you. If you didn't, well, hopefully you're able to enjoy the visuals because it is freaking fantastic here. As Apollo just stands there with his fists, and Leonidas is falling forward with Big G falling back, and she says, "Leo, do it!" As Leonidas reaches out, grabs Apollos' arm and says, as she says, "Let's give it another hit on that arrogant face of his." And right there, as as Leonidas goes in for another strike, blood spills from his guts as we see Apollo's face right there watching. And Leonidas is noticing that Apollo's eye, his look did not change. Apollo accepted what was coming at him. And Leonidas just gives a chuckle. He says, seriously, I've always, he's always making that annoying face. As always, he's always making that annoying face. As we see his soul get shattered to bits. As the narration goes, everyone admired that man's back. Everyone followed that man's back. And right here we get the people that in Leonidas' backstory, the ones that went against Leonidas' thoughts on going against the Persian army, that they're there, crying for Leonidas because obviously they knew who Leonidas was, and they were obviously, even though they're more likely, the well, when I say they're more likely, they're more likely, kind of, yeah, Apollo's gonna win this. They still, wanted Leonidas to win. And right there, as Leonidas says, "Do you guys see what's happening?" And Hagen just says, bursting into tears, saying, "Yes, Lord Leonidas, you have always, since we have met, always, you've always been the greatest Spartan ever." And Leonidas just says, "I see. I am relieved. We, the Spartans, are the strongest." And right there, Leonidas just falls forward as the narration continues. Everyone praised the back of that man who rebelled against fate and lived his life. And right there, Apollo catches Leonidas and says, "It's all right, beauties," as he holds on to Leonidas and also extends his arm to the Valkyrie. And he says, "You guys were the peak of beauty in the most wonderful way in the world." And right there, we get Heimdall's announcement saying, Ragnarok, round 9. The winner is Apollo. Apollo versus King Leonidas. Match length 9 minutes and 30 seconds. Deciding move, Agros Takurus. Victor, Apollo. 10 out of 10 chapter. 10 out of 10 chapter. This chapter was fantastic. The writing, the stakes, and again, the beauty of the writing here. The way these two win at it, they win at it hard. Leonidas accepting Apollo did not break character. This is just an extension of his character. His character evolved, and same with Apollo. Apollo, more for the more or less part, stayed the same. Not when I say the same, I mean like as he stuck to his ideals. Like accepting the human, but also accepting. Okay, I'll what, I'll play your game. Let's do it. Like a man. And Leonidas, seeing Apollo doing this is like okay, yeah, I'm starting to, not so much words, but like he's like, yeah, I'm respecting it. You're starting to finally act like a man, not like a pretty boy brat. So yeah, overall, this fight between these two is just fantastic. 10 out of 10 chapter. Record of Ragnarok has done it again. This series, again, my favorite manga. And yeah, again, what can I say? Just again, this series is just so good. This chapter was just so good. These two characters going at it, and yes, even though the winner of this match has been spoiled for me, all the way since I want to say since Hajun versus Buddha, like I've had the matches spoiled for me every time. But every time I read the chapters, it's just been so fantastic. There's just so much good stuff there. I gotta say, and I will more than likely be doing a video on the matches between going deeper dive into the matches between Leonidas and Apollo and just talk more on that because again that's some good stuff and I just want to go over it and analyze it because again fantastic stuff there. So that concludes my review. Record of Ragnarok does it again, fantastic, 10 out of 10 chapter. And if you listen this far, I greatly appreciate it. And again, Record of Ragnarok is freaking hype. Take care, y'all.